how to factor with fractions and decimals. The strategy, and I'm going to use fraction because I think it's easier with fractions. Here's the strategy. We're going to take whatever fraction we have and factor it out first. So in the first example, I'm going to take all of my decimals and actually change them to fractions. And I see that I have a denominator of a half, so I will take that half and I will factor it out. Well, how do we factor out a common factor even if it doesn't show up in something? Like, I have an x squared, which is like there's a hidden 1 there, but there is no half in that. How do you factor a half out of something if it's not in that? Well, we sort of reverse think it a little bit. Like, I have to put a number here so that when I put a half times that number, I get 1x squared. Would you agree? There would have to be an x squared there. But if I just had an x squared with a 1 on it in front, 1 times a half would be a half, and I just need a 1. Can you figure out what number could go there so when you multiply it by a half, you get 1? Right? This is our question that we're asking. We're asking 1/2 times by something has to equal 1. What's the something? 2. Would you agree that half of 2 is 1? So there's going to be a 2 here when we factor out the half. Factoring out the half out of 3 halves. Okay, I'm going to erase this now and I'm going to put 3 halves. And I'm going to think of this as a fraction. What fraction would have to be here so that, well, how do you multiply fractions? You multiply tops, you multiply bottoms. If I want the bottom to be a 2 when I factor out the half, can you see that this has to be a 1? And if I factor out, I take away that to make a 3, this would have to be a 3. Taking the half out of here will give me a minus 3x. Check it. Does a half times 3 give me 3 over 2? It does. And taking a half out of a half would leave us with 1. So step 1, if we factor out the fraction as a common factor, you now have something that is just like grade 10 for factoring. 2x squared minus 3x plus 1. And I will tell you, this is actually one of the easiest ones in the world to factor. Why is it so easy? Well, if your first one's a 2x squared, there's only one option. It has to be 2x and x. No thinking required. If the last one is a 1, no thinking required. Or only whole numbers that multiply give you 1. 1 and 1. The only thing I have to think about is the signs in between. Should there be plus, minus? Well, if I look at my outside right now, my outside is 2x. My inside is 1x. I want to get minus 3x's. I would need minus 2x's minus 1x to give me minus 3x's. Double check. Is my last one still plus 1 with the signs? It is. And so we were able to factor it completely. So these questions with fractions. Do part B now. We have to factor out the fraction so that denominator is a 3. I factor out a 1/3. I think about 1/3 times what would give me a 1? 1/3 times 3x squared. 1/3 times what would give me negative 17 over 3? And 1/3 times what trying mental math here. 1/3 times what gives you 2? 6. And it's a -2, so it'll be a -6. Excellent. First one is 3x squared. You see you only have one option. 3x and x. The last one's a 6. We have multiple options. 1 and 6, 6 and 1. 2 and 3, 3 and 2. We need to get 17. So start mental math checking quickly. 1 and 6, 6 and 1, 2 and 3, 3 and 2. Okay. 1 and 6. So if we do 1 and 6, you see your outside is 18, your inside is 1. 18 and 1 ever make 17? Yes. I need a -17, so I would need my outside to be -18, my inside to be +1. -18 plus 1 makes -17. Double check, does your last one still work? -6? It does. Sometimes you find one you think works, but when you check the last one, it actually doesn't. So then you have to go back and try other ones. And this is factored completely. Okay, you can circle 9, 10, 11, and 18.